Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on, everybody, and welcome to a video where we are just going to talk about the 2025 Auburn football team. Yes, all we're doing in this video is going to be talking about Auburn. What I like, what I don't like. We'll talk a little bit about the schedule as well, kind of preview the season for the Auburn Tigers before we kick off tonight in Waco, Texas. But first, if you are new to the channel, you already know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe, turn that bell on, as we do our best to post on this channel every single day. 2 more videos coming for you guys. We're going to have our Texas Tech Road to Glory video, and of course our Vanderbilt Dynasty to close us out for the day before we head into the Auburn Tigers kicking off their 2025 season in Waco, Texas on a Friday night. It's going to be a banger. Obviously, Baylor, Auburn, 2 teams that are really good going up against each other on a Friday night. It's going to be a fun time. Arnold returning to his home state, and I cannot wait to talk about the 2025 season. But first, again, if you are new to the channel, you already know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe, turn that bell on, as we do our best to post on this channel every single day, and that will get you automatically updated to when we drop videos every single day. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. No high school football game tonight due to Auburn being of course, on at 7 o'clock, which is when high school in the state of Alabama starts. So no high school football game this week, but we will be back next week on the Instagram, on the Twitter, all of that stuff. Just want to watch some Auburn football tonight. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below, and without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the video where we're just going to talk about the Auburn Tigers. Alright, so first of all, let us talk about this defensive line. This defensive line is an elite group of defensive line for the Auburn Tigers. I have no notes in front of me, might I add. There's nothing on my computer right now or anything of that nature. This is all just, of course, me talking about the Auburn Tigers. Keldrick Falk, one of the most talented defensive linemen in the country, right? Is projected a top 10 pick in this year's 2025 NFL draft, which is absolutely insane. Auburn is expected to be really good on defense, especially with a couple of the guys like Champ Anthony's coming back from an injury, I believe, so he is going to be back for the Auburn Tigers. Malik Blockton is also going to be an Auburn Tiger for the first time, and he will be stepping on the field as a freshman, I'm sure. So again, this defensive line and that cornerback room for the Auburn Tigers, I think, are going to be just fine this year. Now, again, the depth that we have at corner and defensive line is definitely going to help, especially with some of the freshmen stepping up like Crawford, right? Crawford, of course, played in the state championship game with Parker last year, committed to Auburn, and he's going to be a good help to us on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I really like this Auburn defense, especially the defensive line group, because we have so many guys that we can rotate. Now, Antonio Coleman is, of course, out right now, suspended from the team due to activities where he got arrested, we'll just say, of that nature. So he has been suspended from the team. Again, very excited for this football team regardless, though. I love the defensive line unit that we have. I love the cornerbacks that we have. We have a couple of guys coming back for their senior seasons as well, so I'm very excited for this Auburn defense. Now, let's talk about the special teams really quickly before we hop into the offense, because the special teams has been a struggle for Auburn this past season. Yes, last year they got their transfer kicker because Evan McPherson has been dealing with his pains in his abdomen, I believe, and stuff like that. So I hope that he can get better soon and get back onto the field soon for the Auburn Tigers. But we got to find a kicker, man. We did not have a kicker last year, and that showed. There were so many times last year where this Auburn team were in field goal range and decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking a 20 or 25-yard field goal because they weren't confident in their kicker. Now, towards the end of the year, they got more confident in them, and that's basically what won them the game against Texas A&M, right? Sent them into overtime with them, and then from there on, they basically got the job done. So the special teams unit has to find their kicker and has to find their routine. Hopefully, now with the new coaching staff that they have on special teams, Auburn will be able to find that footing pretty well and pretty regularly as well. Because the punting game, I think, is going to be absolutely fantastic. I think the punting game is going to be just fine, but for the most part, I am worried about the kicking team in Auburn, especially with Evan McPherson being out, of course, because we need him when it comes down to it. We are going to need him this year, and I'm sure we will miss him in this Baylor game tonight, but again, that's just the way the cookie crumbles and how college football works. But maybe we won't. Maybe the offense will, of course, light up the scoreboard, which leads us into our next topic, the offense, and then we'll talk about the schedule. This Auburn Tigers offense is a hell of a lot different than last year's Auburn Tigers offense. Last year, I believe they had 3 or 4 freshmen starting. Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, obviously Bryce Kane and Perry Thompson in there as well. All of those guys that Freeze did recruit did play at least one game and started one game for the Auburn Tigers. This year, though, you go out in the transfer portal. The offensive line is a little beefed up. The offensive line last year was a little inexperienced. Connor Lew's coming back this year. We got Xavier Chaplin out of the transfer portal, the 4-star offensive tackle from Virginia Tech, who led the nation in sacks prevented, I guess is that correct word. So the offensive line has been revamped. The quarterback room has been revamped, obviously. Thank God, because Peyton Thorne was just terrible. Let's put it that way, right? He was not the greatest Auburn quarterback in the world whatsoever. So, again, the quarterback room is going to be my main question, and how they are going to work with this receiver core, right? How is Jackson Arnold, of course, going to play with this receiving core? I'm very looking forward to watching Jackson Arnold tonight. I think that the kid was screwed at Oklahoma from the get-go just because he had to deal with so many injuries on the team that he couldn't really control, to where that team was just terrible. Now, don't get me wrong. He went out and beat Alabama, and this video is probably going to be a little short. Let's just put it that way. But he went out and beat Alabama at Oklahoma, which was good for his confidence, right? So, towards the end of the year, they started clicking a little bit off. Oklahoma did. But Jackson Arnold, for the most part, did struggle at Oklahoma. I'm very interested to see with a revamped offensive line for him, with a new wide receiver core and 2 of the best returning wide receivers in the country in Eric Singleton and, of course, Cam Coleman. Malcolm Simmons going to be in there as well. But how is it going to be different than how it was at Oklahoma, right? That is the main question. I think it's going to be a good different, right? I think that eventually we will get more to see Jackson Arnold more confident and stuff like that going down the stretch of the season and things like that. Now, the question is Deuce Knight going to eventually play, right? Is Hugh Freeze going to take a Billy Napier kind of approach from last season, where DJ Lagway was the backup quarterback for the starter of the season? Graham Mertz got hurt. He came back, struggled. DJ Lagway saves his job. Is that going to be kind of the same way with Deuce Knight, right? Where Jackson Arnold struggles. But I'm very interested to see this quarterback room regardless. Now, let's talk about the schedule really quickly before we end this video. The schedule for the Auburn Tigers is the exact same as last year. And last year was very manageable. This year is also very manageable. You get Alabama and Georgia at home. So I think you got to split either one of those 2 games. And the toughest 2 games that we have are going to be Oklahoma on the road and Texas A&M on the road. But other than those 2 games, every other game is winnable, right? This Baylor game tonight is winnable just because, A, it's the kickoff of the season, so teams are kind of in rhythm, not in rhythm and stuff like that. But also, B, because this group is experienced and has way more experience than it did last year. We'll just go ahead and say that right there. So, 2025... I'm not expecting a playoff type of year. I think we win 8 games, maybe potentially 9, and sneak into the playoffs possibly. But 8 games is definitely obtainable, and that's the goal for Hugh Freeze, right? The goal is to get to 8 wins with a win over Alabama or a win over Georgia, and, of course, save his job as the Tiger head coach. I think Hugh Freeze does, and I think the Auburn Tigers will go 8-4 in SEC play. And, of course, potentially sneak into the college football playoff. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments down below. Just kind of talking ball about the Auburn Tigers. Later today, like I said, you'll have a Road to Glory video and, of course, a Vanderbilt Dynasty video. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Let me know your score predictions for tonight. I'm going 31-20 Auburn. I got a lot of faith in this defensive line, like I said earlier in the video. So 31-20 Auburn is my score prediction. Cannot wait to get this season underway. It's going to be a fun one, and I cannot wait for it once we kick off on the Plains next weekend as well. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.